Alright guys, we're going to talk about some common faults in the deadlift and what you can do about them. So, first things first, we made a big deal about approach in the first video. So a lot of faults that we see are when people have really shitty approaches, or really crappy approaches, right? They don't get organized at the top. It's really hard to get organized in a deadlift once you already have the bar. So it's almost always best to get nice and organized up top, squeeze your butt, turn your abs on, then you can start the lift, or then you can get to the bar. Okay, so first thing we want to talk about is compensating, all right? So compensating for tight hamstrings, maybe some hip impingement problems, all right? So you'll generally see people, they'll bend over to a point, and then it's like, they got no more room in their hamstrings, so what do? They round out their lumbar curve, all right? This is one of the worst faults we can have in a deadlift because we never want to apply force on a changing spine, all right? Generally, when we're moving, when we're doing any sort of lift, when we've loaded our spine, we keep it in the same shape, right? You never change spinal shapes under load, okay? So, one way to fix this can just be in the setup. A lot of times it's just an awareness thing. So, being big on squeezing their butt at the top, turning their abs on, this creates that nice, neutral, stable midline. A lot of times that can fix the problem. If they've got hamstring mobility issues or some impingement stuff going on, they may need to do some additional stretching or some stuff like that. Maybe a wider stance will help them for now. Maybe turning their feet out slightly can help this. Anything we can do to unpinge that hip, to prevent that femur from sort of crashing into the front of the pelvis. All right. Another thing that we'll see all the time is when people tend to do what I call a stripper deadlift. All right. So this is when they've got the bar, they're starting the lift, and instead of hips and shoulders going at the same time, butt comes up first. All right. This is something that people may do as a side job on Friday nights, but we don't want it in the CrossFit gym. All right. So a lot of times, again, this is just an awareness thing, just enforcing to them that hips and shoulders will rise at the same time. Okay. It's less common, but every now and then you'll get those people whose shoulders tend to rise faster than their hips. This a lot of times looks like just going around their knees. So a lot of times fixing this can just be, hey man, push your knees back when you start this movement. Make sure your knees go back and out of the way. That can fix the movement a lot. Squatting your deadlifts too. This is a big one. A lot of times people are so used to squatting because we do so much of it in CrossFit, they try to squat their deadlifts. All right, this looks a little bit more like a clean pull. They're not loading their hamstrings and glutes as much. This is a more quad dominant movement. This is more of an awareness thing than anything else. We can fix it in the approach and the setup just by having them start from the top and make sure they maintain big tension in the hips and hamstrings, all right? That generally fixes the problem and keeps them from coming too far forward and loading quads too much. So, that's about it for faults. All right. You'll see people do other kind of weird crap, but those are the big ones.